Hello, and welcome to the digital exhibition of the Exit Art print portfolios, made possible by the University Museum of Contemporary Art in conjunction with the Institute for Curatorial Practice at Hampshire College. The collection of prints that you are about to see were gifted to the UMCA with the help of Professor Jerry Kearns, who served as a member of the board for Exit Art at the beginning of the Alternative Art Space's existence. Exit Art was a non-for-profit alternative gallery space located in New York City, which supported young and marginalized artists. It was open from 1982 to 2012. Co-founders Jeanette Ingberman and Papa Colo made it their mission to work with and display the work of artists whose pieces worked closely with larger cultural issues. The print collections that this exhibition focuses on were a part of an annual fundraiser. Every year, 6 or 7 artists were invited to use the Exit Art space to make a set of 50 prints. These prints were organized into portfolios and sold to museums, educational art institutions, and private collectors. The profits were used to keep Exit Art running and available to lesser-known artists. The print project, which ran from 1995 to 2012, when Exit Art was closed after the death of Jeanette Ingberman, showcases a large selection of important contemporary artists who were working in New York at the turn of the 21st century. This exhibition aims to highlight the influence that Exit Art had on the art world through the artists they worked with and the subjects that these artists embraced and engage with. The variety of artists that were invited to take part in the print portfolios is exemplified through the different materials that each artist used to create their prints, as well as the imagery that was used by the respective artists. To begin our tour, we have a large and confident work by the alternative architecture firm Lot E.K. Ada Tola and Giuseppe Liano founded the architectural studio in 1993. Their practice incorporates the adaptive reuse or upcycling of existing industrial objects and systems not originally intended for architecture. This print of a shipping crate, which is the largest print in the collection at the UMCA, was printed on a sheet of Tyvek and reflects the work with raw material and found objects that Lot E.K. is known for. Next to the large Lot E.K. print is a smaller but nonetheless impressive work by the sculptor Diana Al-Hadid. Al-Hadid is a Syrian-born artist who works primarily with structures and edifices. She is greatly influenced by architecture and urban construction, as well as ancient and Eastern mythology. Though she works largely with giant sculpture and installation works, her piece for Exit Art reflects her well-established paper practice, which entails layering material on paper in large and feverish strokes, covering up a well-structured figure that rests on the base of the paper. The tension on this canvas is perhaps commenting on the friction between traditional practices and contemporary life, a problem that many Syrian citizens of the younger generation, such as Al-Hadid, are struggling with. The work of the Bruce High Quality Foundation does not usually take the form of a static object or image. Rather, they are known for their installation and traveling works of art. Started in 2004, the Foundation has partnered with alternative art spaces similar to Exit Art, such as Creative Time, to create works that use humor to reveal underlying problems in the institutionalized art world. Created during the second term of the Bush administration, this print, titled "Sometimes I Want to Kill the President," was a reaction to the passing of the U.S. Patriot Act. The Foundation was concerned about the implications that the act would have on artistic freedom. The work was meant to create a reaction, which it did, with the New York Post deeming it rude and un-American. The print was intended to be provocative and entice reactions, which the New York Post fulfilled when it criticized it, deeming the print rude and un-American. This image by artist Leon Golub showcases his practice with figural painting and representation, as well as trends in his late career work, which was concerned with acts of violence and terrorism. While many of Golub's later paintings depict scenes of terrorism and man-to-man violence, the print that he has created for Exit Art takes on a more humorous tone. As opposed to human destruction, he instead focuses on the pitfalls of the natural world, depicting a lion attack on a man who laments, "Why me?" Furthermore, when considering Golub's work with race relations, this comical image becomes a sharp commentary on the naivety of white Americans and their blindness to the impact that racial differences still have in contemporary society. These gorgeous nymph-like women, with their full figures and the fantastical setting that they are placed in, are very common traits in the practice of painter Lisa Yuskavage. Yuskavage's work deals heavily with the history of painting, particularly the depiction of female figures and the romanticization of the female body. The women in Yuskavage's paintings may seem uncomfortable due to the provocative poses that she paints them in, but these poses almost act as a form of a liberation call to women. Yuskavage dares her viewers to look at these women and then also reflect on how they perceive themselves and how their self-image has been shaped by images of women throughout art history and other popular forms of visual culture. Next to Yuskavage's print is one by New Orleans-based artist Willie Birch. Birch creates work that reflects the deeply imbued importance of community that exists in his hometown. This collage print features 3 different images of plantain bunches, which appear to be a usual sight in the setting that Birch has created in this print. In fact, all of the images in this collage seem to be overwhelmingly ordinary. The repetitiveness of the plantain image, as well as the casual placement of the plantains in each frame, perhaps refers to the consistency that has helped communities in New Orleans stay strong. If the plantains remain a common sight, then life in New Orleans is continuing to thrive. This print, which was created post-Katrina, is an example of how Birch's work has focused on the vibrancy of New Orleans and the way that struggling communities have survived and thrived since the disaster. An artist who is inspired by the Audubon's naturalist illustrations, Walton Ford has been working since the 1980s to address naturalist and environmental issues with his work. He does this through cartoonish images of animals as well as text that he has included within the frame of his prints. The print that he created for the Exit Art portfolio ties into issues of extinction, poaching, and classification of the natural world. Ford's ape was inspired by the script of the 1933 movie King Kong. As Ford himself points out, the grief of the original Kong is the grief of the unloved, a problem that attacks not only the star of the film, but also many animals who are facing extinction today. The artist Fred Wilson is very well known for his practice with institutional critique, in which he questions how curators and historians shape interpretations of historical truth, artistic value, and the language of display. The work that he has created for Exit Art includes a depiction of John Singer Sargent's Madame X, alongside a depiction of Malcolm X. This print, which has set 2 iconic images side by side, works with Wilson's practice of juxtaposition by aligning 2 well-known and provocative characters to highlight both their differences, such as race, and their similarities, both being controversial and well-known characters who acted as catalysts for various movements in history. This first gallery has focused on prints that use subjects, images, and events to comment on aspects of contemporary society. From the Bruce High Quality Foundation's message in regards to the Bush administration, to the use of Malcolm X and Madame X by Fred Wilson, the prints in this gallery all contribute to the larger discourse that Exit Art was engaging with through their selection of artists. The works in the next couple of galleries will continue to examine the contemporary societal issues that have been raised so far, but will also engage with issues including the environment and globalization. Let's continue. Noted sculptor Charles Diaz Alvarado was born in Puerto Rico and has worked with the theme of termites in his pieces for years. This print is no exception to his rule, and is not the first time that he has employed the trope of bugs to both consider his own fear of them, and also as a symbol for the power relationship between the United States and its 51st state, Puerto Rico. In this print, he has also included a strip of his favorite material to use, raw wood. The strip of wood also reflects his sculptural practice. Alfredo Jar is a well-known Chilean-born artist and filmmaker who has worked extensively with political and social issues in his work. Perhaps his most popular work is the Rwanda Project, which started in 1994 during the height of the Rwandan genocide. He is concerned with the increasingly globalized political landscape, as well as the pressing issues of war. His work for Exit Art is a fraction of his long-running Gramsci project, which involved photography, public art installation, institutional art installation, and multimedia sculpture. In his silk-screened light inkjet print, titled Searching for Gramsci, Jar refers to Antonio Gramsci, a communist organizer who was imprisoned under Mussolini's fascist regime. Gramsci is used by Jar in this series to draw up a historical subject in order to create profound commentary on the issue of war. Next to Jar's print is a piece by Stephen Telaznik, which is the look of a science student's hand-drawn illustrations. Telaznik is an artist who has been working in the New York metropolitan area for years, but who only recently has broken into the world of high art. He was influenced by everyday design at an early age, and after graduating from Tyler College, he went to work on the Jersey Shore as a window decorator and political cartoonist. He not only draws, but also practices do-it-yourself engineering, at-home engineering, influenced by natural systems and non-industrial solutions. His interest in engineering and architecture are reflected in the grid-like figures that he has created for the Exit Art print. This next print by Shakaya Booker utilizes her practice of using objects that have been discarded in her pieces. Made out of a thick slab of rubber, the piece features etchings of the same few faces repeated over and over again across the bumpy canvas. Booker works with many social issues in her work, and this particular piece addresses African American identity and colorism, which she addresses through the deep black of the rubber that she uses. The material also alludes to the position of African Americans in the labor force and the struggle for survival in lower-class communities. It could be argued that the faces within this piece are symbolic of the African American community as a whole. This striking found portrait is typical for artist Rashid Johnson, who ties many of his own personal interests and experience into found historical footage and material as his art practice. This intervention is evident through the gash of white that cuts through the grainy image of a young African-American man. Johnson identifies as a sociopolitical artist, whose conceptual work deals with African-American identity in the United States. He has been grouped with the movement of post-black art, which involves work that intertwines race and racism, but that rejects the labeling of blackness by the artists who have created these works. Adam Helms' style, similar to the work of Rashid Johnson, is one that reflects the contemporary practice of combining found archival footage with collages, giving visibility to marginalized subjects. He successfully continues the process of using collage as a form of social commentary, very much in the vein of the Dadaists and pop artists. However, through the use of digital footage and online material, he has brought this process into the 21st century. This image, a death portrait of a man who appears to be an outlaw, displaying both sides in this exhibition to show the artist's own intervention of what looks like a pool of blood on the reverse side of the subject's head. YZ Kami, an artist who is native to Tehran, has created a print for the Exit Art collection that reflects the style of the prints and paintings that he creates in his regular artistic practice. He's been widely collected by a number of large-name institutions, and his striking paintings of close-up portraits are ethereal, his hazy style elevating his subjects, creating angelic figures out of anonymous faces. The size of the print that he created for Exit Art is accentuated through the grainy quality of the image and adds to the power that the austere man in the photograph holds over his audience. The image Pocono No. 2, rich with detail and repetitive mirror images, may resonate for some time with the viewer. Mika Rottenberg's print requires a close meditation on the piece, one that may not end up being resolved by the viewer, but that will likely be remembered. This resonant power of Rottenberg's work is not unique to Pocono No. 2. and much of her work applies a critical lens to issues such as factory work and the position of women in the workplace. The sticky and uncomfortable settings that Rottenberg portrays in her works may be upsetting and seem larger than life, but they are often lifted from real-world situations. Though born in Jamaica, Nari Ward's almost 30-year-long residency in the United States has informed much of his politically driven work. He uses subjects such as freedom, class struggle, and citizenship in his pieces, which range from sculptural installation to smaller prints, such as the one that he created for the Exit Art print collection. The combination of screen printing, thermography, and photography presents the story of Lorraine, a woman who was once used as an iconographic image on a Jamaican banknote and who now works at a Bargain World dollar store. Her story is exacerbated by the images of African American children that are repeated all over the background of the dollar bill that Ward has created. Ward's works are often composed of found objects from his neighborhood, such as this image of Lorraine, and he uses them to raise issues related to consumer culture, poverty, and race. Tony Orsler, who is known for working with multimedia formats and large installation work, is famous for his video works on the history of the camera and the image. A student of John Baldessari, his projects are very much an extension of the conceptual work that Baldessari was known for. Orsler is known for his comedic work with video projections, particularly his projection on faces onto objects, which results in a strange animation on an otherwise inanimate object. This image is one of the stranger images in the Exit Art print collection, and further exemplifies the humorous tone that his work takes on. But the only reason it is strange, perhaps, is because it appears, at first, so ordinary. The comedic image of an extraterrestrial shopping in a deli on Houston Street is presented in what was Orsler's first silkscreen. David Byrne is an artist who primarily works with music and sound, but has also worked in the visual arts, as evidenced by this fabric print. Printed on camouflage fabric with the same grommets that are used to pin tents onto trees in the woods, Byrne's screen print features a drawing of the cross-section of a tree. The branches and roots of the tree are labeled in the style of a family tree, but instead of only family members, Byrne has included the words for various waste products and environmental hazards. This print raises questions of environmental awareness, for which Byrne is a well-known advocate. Byrne is also a founding member of the band The Talking Heads. For the final gallery, I wanted to begin by looking at two prints by artist Papa Colo, who, as you may remember, is one of the co-founders of Exit Art. These two prints by Colo are just a sampling of the impressive images that Colo created each year for the cover of the folder that held the print collection. He used this annual print contribution to tie the collection of artists' prints together. These two images, which come from later years of the printmaking project, reflect the loose themes that were used to curate and organize the portfolios. Each of them reflects an interest in environmental issues. The first cover image, with butterfly wings on both sides of the folder in two different colors, alludes to ecosystems, biomes, and the importance of the smallest beings in our world. The second one refers to the environment on a much more monumental scale, through images of a hurricane and a supernova, both taken from satellite photographs. Colo's interest in the environment is reflected by the illustrated rainforest prints made by Isabella Kirkland. Kirkland works primarily with issues of biodiversity and the natural world, and her detailed oil paintings and drawings of the rainforest, which look as though they have been lifted out of an encyclopedia, are a key part of her practice. She has been engaged not only in various art institutions, but in science centers as well, having worked as a research assistant at the California Academy of Sciences and a science advisor at the Long Now Foundation in San Francisco. For these Exit Art prints, she has married both her work with fine art and her work in the science centers to create an educational and informative print. This print uncovers the diversity of life and expresses the importance of the protection of the rainforest. So we've come to the end of our tour. I really hope that this exhibition has been informative and enticing for all of you viewers. Thank you so much for your time, and please feel free to click around the rest of the website for further information and writing on both Exit Art and the artists included in these print portfolios. Thank you.